Hello, and welcome to the Complete Podcast Network. I'm Anthony Wilson, recording from Los Angeles, California. Let me dive right into the biggest story in sports right now, which is the blockbuster trade that sent three-time All-Pro pass rusher Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers for three-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle Kenny Clark and two first-round picks, one of the picks being in 2026 and the other one in 2027. Per ESPN, Parsons gets 4 years, $188 million in his new deal with the Packers. That'll include $120 million fully guaranteed and $136 million in total guarantees, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Adam Schefter stated that Parsons will make $62 million in the first year of the deal, also a record for non-quarterbacks. Parsons posted a goodbye letter to the city of Dallas and what he called Cowboys Nation on social media. And he said, I never wanted this chapter to end, but not everything was in my control. My heart has always been here, and it still is. Through it all, I never made any demands. I never asked for anything more than fairness. I only asked that the person I trust to negotiate my contract be part of the process. This is a sad day, but not a bitter one. I'll never forget the joy of draft night, the adrenaline of running out of the tunnel, or the brotherhood I shared with my teammates, coaches, and the staff who prepared me for every single game. Those memories are mine forever. He concluded with, thank you, Cowboys Nation, for every cheer, every moment, and every ounce of love you showed me. Wearing the star has been the honor of my life. With gratitude and love, number 11. That was just a part of the letter that he shared there. But per Todd Archer of ESPN, Jerry Jones said in a 46-minute news conference later on Thursday that he made the trade to make the Cowboys better now. This was a move to get us successful in the playoffs, Jones said. This was a move to be better on defense, stopping the run. This was a move to, if we get behind, not to be run on. And it was a deliberate move, a well-thought-out move to make this happen. So, the day that Micah Parsons made his trade request, I reacted on this channel. And I said that, the Cowboys might really have to trade Micah Parsons. But deep down, I didn't really believe that it would happen, right? I didn't see this happening. I was shocked when I saw the news. I had missed where Schefter had tweeted that the Cowboys were trying to they were seeking a resolution one way or the other before the season started, and had been fielding trade offers. And not long after that, though, he breaks the news. Schefter does of the trade, and so it's definitely one of those shockers, man. I was on the phone with Galvez when David Galvez, former, I guess, co-host on this podcast. I was on the phone with him when it happened, and we just kind of went back and forth. Me personally, I feel like Parsons, he got his money, but he may regret this. The Cowboys. The Packers are, other than the Cowboys, the Packers are as big a brand as there is. They're up there with the Steelers as far as name brand. But what Jerry did with the Cowboys. I mean, at one point in time, the Cowboys, the Packers, and the Steelers were, and the Raiders also. They were like almost pretty much equals in terms of, like I said, name brand as far as NFL franchises go. But then Jerry buys a team, and of course you have that Netflix documentary that everybody's talking about right now that tells the story. But Jerry buys a team, and he did take he's taking the Cowboys to just another stratosphere where you really can't even group them with the those other franchises that I named anymore. And I think a big part of that is Jerry himself and how much he stays in the media. He's done amazing to make the Cowboys seem and feel different from all the other um, NFL franchises. So and I think for Micah Parsons, excuse me. I think for Micah Parsons, this, like I said, man, it might be something. He was playing on the biggest stage possible, and I just think it's worth more being a Cowboy, man, than it is, you know, than it is playing for any other franchise, including a historic franchise with a massive, fan base that travels like the Green Bay Packers. And of course he'll be welcome there with open arms. But there's nothing like playing for the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. So I don't know. Like I said, he got his money, highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. But at what cost, right? If you look at some of the other guys who, let alone the guys who won Super Bowls, the Aikmans and the Irvins and the Smiths and so on. But even some of the guys who didn't, like Tony Romo, look what he did for him. Just being able to say that you played there, and being able to go back and whatever they do. You just feel like you're part of the family. Same thing as playing for the Lakers. You're a part of the lore. So I don't know. This might be something that he ends up. Like I said, I think he might end up regretting it. Now, as I think about the trade itself, my initial thought was, Jerry has pretty much. He betrayed he betrayed the Cowboy fan base with this move. And I know Cowboys fans, they will they'll continue to. I know they feel that way right now. They're heartbroken, but it could actually end up paying dividends. And I was thinking about it. I was thinking about the last team to win a Super Bowl with a superstar, future Hall of Fame edge rusher like a Micah Parsons was the Broncos in 2015, right? And so I was on the phone with Galvez, and I was going backwards to find the last time to get to Von Miller, right? And I started going through the teams, and Galvez goes, I think I said, Tampa Bay. I started with Tampa Bay, right? They won in 2020. And Galvez goes, Vita Vea. And I go, well, no, I said edge rushers, right? And then Galvez said Vita Vea. He said, Aaron Donald, when the Rams won the year after that. I said, no, I'm talking about edge rushers. And that made me realize, if you go back to 2019, right? Chris Jones, Kansas City, Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh with the Buccaneers, Aaron Donald with the Rams, Chris Jones with the Chiefs back-to-back, and then Jalen Carter, as Galvin mentioned last year with the Eagles. So if you go back to the last five, the last six Super Bowl champions, none of them had. I mean, so like Von Miller, he played for the Rams in 2021, but I mean that wasn't really the peak Von Miller. That wasn't 2015 Von Miller, right? And he didn't play the full season with him, right? So I think I think it's the point still stands that, as Jerry said, this is a move that'll help the Cowboys up the middle, that helped them stop in the run where they were 29th in the league in run defense last year, and I think that might actually be the play, right? And then Jerry also said in that news conference that they could possibly use a couple of those picks they got, those first round picks, to get a star this year. So let's say a pass rusher becomes available, or maybe he's not available, but somebody licks and goes, we'll take a first round pick for him. Maybe the Cowboys can replace Micah Parsons this year. They're not going to get a pass rusher as good as Micah Parsons, but if you get a good one for that first round pick, you would get a really good one for a first round pick. Now you got Kenny Clark up the middle, and you got your edge rusher back. Now you got something, man. And as I told Galvez, I mentioned Bill Simmons, the the Ewing theory, which is that the Cowboys they haven't won anything with Micah, right? And as Galvez said, Galvez goes, yeah, and they weren't going to win anything, right? So it's kind of like, I mean, if you're Jerry, you can kind of see, it sucks because Parsons is he and CD and Dak, they were the faces of the franchise, and you never want to see have to trade away a player like that who means so much to the fan base. But it is a business, and it is what it is. We'll just have to see, what happens. And Jerry, as Galvez, and I tried to get Galvez to come on here and talk to me about the trade, and he wouldn't do it. But he mentioned Herschel Walker, and Jerry mentioned Herschel Walker also in that press conference, and we saw how that paid dividends when the Cowboys traded Herschel Walker, as Jerry mentioned, and it brought them got them the picks that led to their dynasty in the '90s. So yeah, you have to. It's just one of those things where you have to take a wait and see approach. So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, definitely one of those. Like I said, definitely one of those. I remember where I was and what I was doing when the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons, and it's crazy that in the same year, in the span of less than 7 months, the Packers traded. The city of Dallas lost two of their most beloved athletes, and for sure, probably their two most beloved athletes, I would say. Cowboys fans, I think, are more heartbroken by this than if they were to lose Dak Prescott. So you lose Luka Doncic, and then you lose Micah Parsons in the span of 7 months. So that's tough. But we saw the Mavericks. They were able to rebound, get the number one pick, draft Cooper Flag, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Cowboys and what they're able to turn those picks into. Um, we'll just have to see. Elsewhere in the football world this week, uh, it's not really. I mean, it's not football news, but it's about football players. So you had, of course, you had Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift announcing their engagement, much to the chagrin of a certain demographic. You know how that goes. But yeah, man, good for Kelsey. You know, to lock in and pretty much become engaged to the most, I guess, the most popular woman in the world, probably, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. I've never been in her music, but when I saw the most promo picture she put out for that album, I think it's called The Last Showgirl or something like that. It's like, damn, Taylor, okay. I don't know why she's been trying to, like, show it off. You know, a good looking woman. I don't know why people act like Taylor Swift is not, like this certain demographic is like Taylor, Travis Kelsey, he left. I forget the name of the woman that he, a woman from that demographic that he, I think her name was Kayla. I forget. But he left her and got with Taylor. They're like, look what he left to get with that. It's like, Taylor, what do you mean? Taylor Swift is a beautiful woman. So, now she's showing a little skin. I'm here for it. Yeah, like I said, I've never been in her music before, but I want to check this next album out. I think it's an album, right? and of course, the other news was that Travis Hunter and his wife are expecting their first child, right? Now, on the surface, right, it's like, okay, you have this young black athlete, and he's married. He's married. He's like 21 years old. He's married, and he's expecting his first child. The child will be born, presumably, in wedlock, unless they get a divorce by then. And of course, that's the thing about it, is that normally I'm somebody who would promote people getting married and then having kids. But everybody, I think, has felt like from the beginning that Travis was being preyed upon by this woman, and the whole situation just reminds me of when Corey Holcomb, the great, on the 5150 show, he goes, if you're the type of man who feels like you have to marry a woman so that she won't leave you, then you deserve to be destroyed so that you can be built back up into something worthy. And I think that pretty much just, explains this situation with Travis Hunter. Like, Travis Hunter is just the type of kid, and I don't know, I think, I remember I saw a clip with B. Hen on the Club 520, the Jeff Teague podcast. He was talking about Travis Hunter, and he was saying you could tell that he said his dad needs to be, kicked in his ass. And one of the guys goes, I don't think his daddy wasn't around. And I think you can, I don't know. If his daddy was around, his daddy was just, weak and, not a presence. Even if he was present, didn't make his mark. Because, Travis Hunter, I saw someone say once that it was a woman. And she said something to the tune of, it's like the guys who get girls their whole lives basically, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she said the guys who get girls their whole lives are not the ones who get married. It's the guys who never got girls that end up getting married because they basically need the woman to validate them. You know, now, I know that Travis Hunter, um, he's been a star athlete for a while. He was a 5 star. He was a big time recruit coming out of high school. He was the number one player in the nation coming out of high school. He's pretty much been the best player in football at every level he's been at so far, in high school and college. And we'll see what he does in the NFL. He's obviously a tremendous athlete. But, and you would think that would mean that, since he was in high school, he would be getting girls. But what it seems more like is that, this girl, she recognized his potential and she got in there early. Kind of like I hate to say this, but like you know, Whitney Alford, Kendrick Lamar's uh, fiance, who of course became part of the biggest rap beef in history last year. But yes, she saw Kendrick's potential early, like in high school, and she's been with him ever since. And to this, they're still together all these years later. So I'm not trying to put Whitney in the same category as Whitney. I mean, they have kids, so she could have tried to cash out by now. They're not married. Who knows what would happen if they got married? What she would do. But this girl, everybody's always look at this girl that Travis is with, like she's basically just like I said, she's trying to prey on him. And you just have to say it's like it's in a woman's nature to do that. It is what it is. I know Corey said one time, every woman alive has destroyed a man before. there's no woman alive who hasn't destroyed a man before. So yeah, it is what it is, and sometimes you just have to go through it so that you can get stronger and make sure that it doesn't happen to you again. But it just sucks when it's a young man who has so much to lose. But then at the same time, who knows? Maybe they'll still be together maybe they'll still be together 15 years from now, 20 years from now. I hope so. I hope I'm wrong about the girl. And I hope they really are in love and that they, but that's normally not how it, I mean, I can't say normally. I guess maybe it's just like the ones that make the news are the ones that don't work out. There are a lot of athletes who are married and have been married. Same thing with rappers. So you just have to see. But yeah, hopefully it works out for Travis. Um, the funniest thing I saw this week was Sabrina Ionescu saying that the WNBA deserves its own standalone 2K, which is like, come on, Sabrina. Like, what are you talking about? Can you imagine a standalone WNBA 2K game? Who would possibly play that? I mean, that's crazy. Like I watch the WNBA, but come on. Be for real. And then, last but not least, it just came across my YouTube feed last night. It was just randomly. It was the 2012 Heat. The Heat with Braun and Bosh and Wade against Lob City, the Clippers, and it was the very first season of Lob City after Chris Paul gets there. And man, I've said this before that I think that the Lob City Clippers deserve I think they deserve like a 30 for 30. Because they held it down, man, at a time where, so it starts in 2012 when Chris Paul gets there, right? Blake Griffin he's drafted in 2009. His rookie year is 2009, 2010, but he doesn't play. He plays 2010, 2011, wins the Rookie of the Year. Then Chris Paul gets there. Doc Rivers' first year is 2012, was it 20, was it 2013 or 2014? One of those years, right? And, they have their run through, I think it was 2018. But yeah, that was a hell of a time because the kind of like how like USC in those uh, lean years. So you had 2005, 2006, uh, 2007. Those are the years where Kobe is like, Shaq gets traded in 2004, and then 2005, 2006, 2007. Lakers are mediocre. They miss the playoffs and they lose in the first round the next couple of years. Kobe's still putting on the show, but he's also rehabilitating his image from the Shaq trade and the Colorado thing. So it was kind of like wasn't when the Lakers are up and winning championships like they did in the years surrounding. And USC was kind of like there was a point where USC for at least those really uh, they were like it's nothing beats the Lakers, right? But even the 2002 through 2004. They won the first national championship in 2003 and the second one in 2004. They were kind of co-headlining, for the city. And then 2005 to 2007, they were really they're really the biggest show in town. Uh, and then the Lakers got back on track with the Pau Gasol trade in 2008. And that was the last great year of the Pete Carroll era. And then 2009, that was the down year before, which was still a 94 year. But that was Pete's last year before he left for the NFL. And so it's in that same way. I feel like what um, what the Lob City Clippers did. If you look at the Lakers after Kobe tears his Achilles, that's in 2013. So you look at 2014 to 20, 2014 through 2018, the Lakers are not a good basketball team. And the Clippers, they held it down. You know, never made the conference finals, but they were a contender, and they won a lot of games during the regular season, and they were super fun to watch. And that was a time in LA where it was a great time, and it wasn't like it is now. This is before TikTok, and this is back. You got to understand with social media that there was a time when, like I was thinking, I was thinking just last night, like about the same thing, the Clippers, when remember this whole DeAndre Jordan saga when the Mavericks wanted him and that whole thing that played out on Twitter. That happened at a time where you still kind of had to be there, right? It wasn't like today where it's like there are no more stories to be told because all the stories play out where everybody is aware of it as it's happening. You know, that's how big social media has gotten. That there's nothing that's happening now that 20 years from now be able to have what are those pieces called where an oral history, right, of the event, because the oral history is playing out in real time all the time for everybody to see it, you know. So it's like it's not you barely, it's not even gonna feel like it's historical because it's like everybody saw it, you know. And so I think that Clippers team at that time, they were important. And like I said, they were a nightly highlight reel. And, it was just a great run. And And I'd love to see a 30 for 30 about those guys, you know? All right, so before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailbag questions to CompleteLakersPodcast@gmail.com. I am out.